Okay, the title is Nzwisiso, YemiPanda, YemaZita, and the Botho cycle of science, entanglements in Chimbire morphograms, and isibhekhe sohlamvu or ditimatsadinuku phonograms as a nominal graphosemantic phenomenology.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dumelang kaofela sanibonani nonke nina ka le tsoke nna Pule kaJanolintji kodwa ngifuna kaisa wathi ngiyaphinza isihlahla nyanibingelela nonke. I greet you all. I'm from the University of Cape Town in South Africa. I'm a PhD student there, but I would rather refer to myself as an endogenous technologist. I'm dealing with endogenous technology, and when we say endogenous, we mean coming from a particular set of African worldviews, internally generated from there, and also endogenous coming from the inside of the body and of the, the self. So the title has a lot of English, but I'll start with just saying an aphorism. Let's take this as an axiomatic truth that the theory is a technology. That's what the purpose of this presentation. The theory is a technology. If you look at this, it's just a pipe. It's just a PVC pipe. It's plastic. It's just cut on both sides. There's no holes or anything like that. But so there's something with this that is a technology. The thing itself is just a pipe. It's not meant for this. But there's a technology that's inside that comes out into the object. And it's one and the same thing, the body of the becoming the instrument and the body inside. So we're saying a theory is a technology. And we're also saying this axiom, or an aphorism, saying good theory, strong theory, it comes from below. In an academic context, often we, especially in Africa, for example, from our context, we have a very exocentric research methodology, where we're saying, okay, we have data that is like certain things on the ground, certain things that are low in institutional power, and that's what we are analyzing, and we're using theory from above with high institutional power to do that. So there's kind of a problem power dynamic there. So we would like to be more epistemologically disobedient and say, no, the theory must come from below. So it must come from below, from those who are below in the social hierarchy, but also it must come from below in a metaphysical sense. It must come from below the water's edge. Where the water is where we are all born from. We all start as aquatic animals and we are born from water. And the water is also dark, and it's the unknown. Knowledge comes from that which is not knowledge. And this brings up, as you can see, this cosmogram. What is a cosmogram? A cosmogram is a sign or a symbol that is an entire cosmological worldview. All that exists is in this. So it's the Dikenga ja Congo, and this is the water's edge. And one is born in the physical world, reach maturity, where there's a strong connection to the rebirth in the metaphysical world. And this is the cycle of the sun. This is the midnight and midday. It's just the inverse of each other. So it's this one line like that. So what we're saying by this is ulwazi luvela olwandle. Knowledge comes from the ocean, from the external expanse. Knowledge comes from unknowledge. You don't find knowledge from what you know. You have to go to what you don't know to get knowledge. So we say knowledge comes from the ocean, so what is not known. So the third aphorism is this one. Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. Person is person by people. Or I could even say it, mina ngiyimi ngawe. I am me by you. This is a philosophical conception. But let's focus a little bit on the technology of the writing system. And this is called Isibhekhe sohlamvu writing system. For those who are not familiar with it, Isibhekhe sohlamvu looks like this. It's got a tessellated form and it's got a linear form. And it's written here in a different name, ditimatsadinuku. And because it's got this geometric construction, Color can be used in certain traditional ways, but in also personal ways. There is the possibility of two different types of base triangle. There is the equilateral triangle, which tessellates in this way, and the isosceles, so it creates different, design potentials in this, which means it's quite good architecturally, structurally for, sculpture. Here's the artist Sandile Khatewe, who has written the praise names of his clan. So Mtimkulu, Pungane, all the clan names associated with his family in this. A number of other of his work. Also playing with the dimension there, So we're thinking of writing not only as a two-dimensional or a linear object, but also a three-dimensional object. Every year at the University of Johannesburg, I present this writing system and African writing systems in general to jewelry design and industrial design students. Then they produce works of jewelry and industrial design from the knowledge of the system. So this is a clan name as well, Kwabi. It's written into this pendant. Moho, this is meaning oneness, togetherness, moho. To explain how the system works in its linguistic function, the triangle is the base of each syllable, and the triangle is representative of a vowel, in this case, a. Then consonants are added to this, so then it becomes sa. This example, and there's two features, two sides of the consonantal graphemes, and it's the position in the triangle, which is iconic of the mouth, this being the lips and this being the back of the throat, and then the shape. The shape in this case, a curved shape. Shape would mean a fricative sound, a hissing sound, as we say, hissing would be a curved shape, right? This would be a prenasalization. Prenasalization, this is called ingungu. Ingungu is a resonating drum. So what it does is an ingungu opens up the nasal cavity. So it creates an extra resonating chamber. So we have this direct iconicity with the body. The resonating chamber, which creates a prenasalization. So the consonant has a prenasalization. Nza. And a voicing line. When the vocal folds are engaged, the voice comes from the back through, and so then becomes Nza. So it's a very simple, progress of a syllable being built like that. So you have very few rules, and you can produce a proliferation of syllables. So these are all the consonants. As you can see, there's also this iconicity. The lips are the triangle apex, and the straight line is a plosive, like a p, whereas is a fricative, so it's curved. So there's certain logical, iconic steps in understanding the system. So it's quite an easy system to learn. It's very fast. 30 minutes, you will know it. It's not difficult. The vowel, for example, ah. When you say ah, it's a low vowel. The tongue goes down, the chin goes down, the triangle points down, which is called isoga. It's the masculine vowel. E, the tongue goes up, so the triangle points up, as you can see. The high closed vowels point upwards, the low open vowels point downwards. The mid front vowels point to the left, or. So if we are facing this way, or to the back, to the front. Very simple, iconic. This obviously is not in Unicode yet. It will, I think it will be encoded at some stage. There's people working on that. But this is the workarounds that we use for images, to generate images, to create text like that. I mean, it's well studied around the world, I think, the Ispeko Sohlambu system. So I'll return to the aphorism after that. Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, and it's the first entanglement. The first entanglement, we have the Chimbira symbol here, which we can replace. So we have two writing systems, one from Southern Africa and one from Zimbabwe, so more from South Africa or south of Zimbabwe, and then Zimbabwe itself. And the creator of the script, the Chimbira script from Zimbabwe, not this one, Rutendo Goneso, the Chimbira script developer, has explained this like this. The radical nu or ntu in a broader linguistic context means beingness, and it's placed in different words to identify them as an entity, placing nu after mu, which means a person. So this is like a non-linguist view of something. It's an intuitive view, and this is what this symbols were created in an intuitive way. When I say endogenous technology, I mean a technology that comes from affect. It comes from intuition. So we can even look at the meaning of this. Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, mina ngiyimi ngawe. When I look at you, you look at me. I say you, you say you. There's a you. It's a reflection of you. And then if you know Adinkra symbols, Sankofa is the return and get it. Sankofa, go back and get it. So it's go back and get it even from the beyond, you know. So there is the beyond. The rebirth in the metaphysical world, the maturity in this world, and the reflection. So the you of the other side, the you of death, that defines life. So we can say it in philosophical terms like this. The second person in person deixis, if the first person is subjective, the third person is objective, what about the second person? The second person is that which creates the dialogue. I can do this alone, it doesn't mean anything. It only means something when we're in a discourse. Discourse produces me because you look at me to know that I exist. You know, I'm produced, my existence produced by you, and our conversation creates the object. So objectivity is a process of discourse. You know, it's necessarily a process of discourse. So everything is reducible to the primary second person. And this is maybe a deeper explanation of what Ubuntu philosophy means. Ubuntu philosophy is not kumbaya, everyone must be happy, joining together, help each other. Ubuntu philosophy is a hardcore philosophy saying, I don't exist. You exist, and by you I'm produced. And by us, the world is produced. This is the metaphysics that has a deeper basis in the indigenous cosmology, right? Okay, so pause there. Let's go back to technology. So first, technology. A new codification of noun class morphosemantics as a grammatical apparatus of creative conceptual lenticulation. Ubuntu, bomuntu, isintu, noluntu. The personhood of the person is the practice of personality and the extent of people. This is just another little aphorism that you can put there. If I talk about codification of morphosemantics, I would define this as is design science. You're designing something that has an empirical basis, right? And then here is a philosophy side of it. So we're talking about phenomenology through the writing system. We're talking about philosophy embodied in writing. This is essentially the thing. So lenticularity is an interesting concept. Lenticularity is this thing of like, okay, you go this side of the same thing, you go this side of the same thing, you see totally different, you interpret a totally different thing. So it's the same object, but totally different message received. It is in reality the same object. There's different sides to it, right? If I go into the grammar of Southern African languages, I can find different ways of seeing the same thing. So there's this word nta, which is a dot or a point. And then the same root with a different prefix, lusha, this now becomes a line. And then with a different prefix, you see, now it becomes a group, you know? And if I go here, I can come to this simple explanation. A dot, right? Right? But if I let the dot move and I show its path, now it's a line, right? It's just the moving dot is now a line. Now I'm going to do a couple, now it's a group, you know? And then now I'm going to put more, you know, and now it's becoming more like a mass, you know, it's not a group anymore. Now it's a certain substance, you know what I'm saying? So now if I look at it like this, I see it like revolving around like turning inside a cylinder maybe. But if I increase the speed, why is it different? Now it looks like it's spinning around a point, you know? It's exactly the same thing. It's the same phenomenon. You're seeing it, it's lenticular. You're seeing it from slightly different, you know, phenomenological passing, and it's becoming a different thing, you know? So this is the grammatical system that we have. This is why it's a fabulous found technology, you know? Because even the group, you can make it into a point. You know, if you zoom out, we're just here in Reading. We're just now a point. So everything can be seen in a lenticular way, different ways of saying. So they aren't separate things. So for example, let me just go to this. This tree is called Mopani. No, this tree is called Marula tree, right? But the real word is Murula. Murula is the tree. A grove of the trees is called Mirula. A particular fruit or a leaf of the tree, Lirula. Fruits in general, Marula. So we're zooming in on a different part of the phenomenon, right? Likewise, this is called Mopani. This is Mopani. Mipani is a grove of the trees. Lipani is the leaf. Mapani is the leaves. Dipani is the caterpillars that are always found on us, which are a delicacy. We usually eat them. They're called Mopani worms. So these Dipani are individuated. One is called a pani, and the dish is called a pani. But you see, the caterpillar and the tree is not different things. It's the same phenomenon. You're zooming in on a particular, you're looking through a different lens. And this, what I'm arguing is that this is in the grammar. Not only is this in the grammar, Rotendo Goneso, who have shown some of her words here, she has created symbols which give these different lenses. And these symbols are intuitively generated. They're felt. It's speaker intuition. It's the phenomenology in the flesh, in the body. And each of these are different of these. So the first one is for persons, the empathetive lens. The one to say, you look at me, I look at you, that is what personhood is. If I think this is looking at me and I'm looking, it's a person. You know, this is the philosophy. Class 14, concentrative, which creates essences, abstractions. Class 7, which creates instruments or groups, right? Class 11, which creates extension, extended expanses, like ulwandle, the extent of the outside, right? So if we use the root tu, which is the same as ntu, which is this root which has extremely broad semantics, right? This is Chivenda language from Southern Africa, in Zimbabwe or in South Africa. So mutu is a person, vatu is people. Now you just change the prefix, chitu is now a thing, ritu is things. But it can be something, it can be anything, it can be nothing. It can be someone, anyone, no one. It's very broad, the most broad possible, probably the most powerful root in all language is this root, because it can mean anything, right? Far to place somewhere, nowhere, anywhere. Vutu, the philosophy of personhood. This one refers to the first one. Rutu, a tall, extended, skinny person. Vitu, a big one, monster. Utu, a tiny one. See, so all of this is this root, which defers to the prefix. And the prefix we're suggesting is phenomenological lenses of which to pass a particular phenomenon in different ways. The lenticular reality, right? So the same with the cattle. So this is a cow, Khomo. Khomo is class 9, it means it's individuated. Each cow has its own name, it has its own history, it has its own surname, it has its own heritage. You call the praises of the cow, it's a person. So Khomo, 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 Khomo. Together they are Dikhomo, but they're not together, they're still individual. It preserves individuation. This class preserves individuation. Whereas Makhomo, now it's a mass. Now it's a mass now. Makhomo is a substance, cattle at large, or it is herds of cattle. So we see the same phenomenon. The cows are there, but now we're seeing it in different ways through the grammar. Now, this kind of grammar has been analyzed by various scholars. They try to create models as to how it works, in terms of semantics. This is like an early one from the 80s. This was all about, it felt like quite of a Western, maybe a global north, materialistic view of space and very kind of engineering vibes. This one was more poetic and evocative. It's about prototypes. So this was Carrie Ann Selvig, who did an experiment, which I without knowing, reproduced a similar experiment. And she's saying that class 3 is the prototype of a tree. So all like Mupani and Murula, Mokuyu, Mo is always often associated with trees. It's like a classifier in Chinese, for example. It's a similar thing, but it's agglutinative, so it's part of the thing, such that we call it a noun class, So we have this kind of theoretical intervention that has been made. But I did my own experiment with some speaker intuition to hear what's the feeling about it. So the experiment is simple. You make up a word, an imaginary word. The word is patata. We did another one, kinjo. So patata, and you just change the prefix. You say mupatata, simpatata, all the different prefixes that are going to give different lenses. And then you see what people think of it. So what does patata mean? You make up something. So someone made up a story. No, it's a ceremony, you know. For the ceremony to complete, there's different. The main ritual is observed is the mpatsato, which is class 9, individuated, right? But patata haohula, when it's bigger, dimpatsato. Now it's many different individuated ceremonies, right? And then if it's just you, it can be mpatsata. So now it's, instead of having O at the end, it's A, so it's active and not a result of something. It's an active verb now. So okay, now mpatsata and then dimpatata. And then it can also be here. Let's go down to lipatata. Lipatata would be a person, you know, who is a student. So it's a type, a particular type of person who is the student who is going to embody this thing. So we see in this intuitive explanation of this grammar that these lenses, this phenomenology is coming out. So we're mining the grammar for some philosophical precepts that are the intellectual heritage of a particular cultural world, right? And so, you know, we've sort of like then analyzed them in different ways and created a sort of flow diagram of the event. You know, so there's a certain flow to the way we start to see different things. You know, so suddenly that's the individuated flute, and then suddenly I'm picking it up, and now it's the person, and then now it's suddenly the music, and it's a mass. You know, there's different lenses that now we're accessing the same phenomenon. Different person will see it in different ways, but nevertheless, you would describe it with the grammar. So Rutendo's morphograms for these lenses, which I'm arguing are phenomenological lenses. They are morphograms. Those that are empathetive by which we mean anything that you can think to also have mind looking back or to have presence looking back. You don't have to see it in a scientific way. You see it just in a logical way. You look at something, it looks at you. There's a book called The Object Looks Back. Physically speaking, even if you're understanding it in physics, the electromagnetic forces that are operating here are also operating. This is coming from, I think Alice will talk about this later today, actor network theory of Bruno Latour. It's the idea that there is a rhizomic network of actors that are equally acting on each other. There is no need to distinguish a person, a human being, and an object or an animal. It's unnecessary. Everything is an agent. And this aligns with indigenous cosmology in Southern Africa. So this empathetive, which is for persons, because of this empathetivity, then the telluric, which is this tree thing. So I give it the name telluric to say it's of the world, it's of the outside. It's of the river, it's of the tree, it's of the dance. You know, these are all things that are external, part of the external environment. Then we've got the onomastic. The onomastic is just without the empathetivity. It's just a name. So if I say Pule, I say Upule. The U is now onomastic because it's my name. But if if a concept is foreign and I just want to say it by the name, I just say U, like a banana in Southern Africa, U banana. It's as if I'm saying a person, but I'm just saying a name, U banana. Whereas individuative is now you're picking out particular individuated view of the phenomenon. So home, for example, a particular cow, into a particular thing, inja, a particular dog, you know, which is just a word for dog, but it says that the phenomenology embedded in the grammar is that we're seeing this as individuated, whereas ikati is not individual, a cat is not individual, cat is a type. Because perhaps a cat came to Southern Africa later in history. It's a certain type of thing. It could be a historical explanation that we could argue for it. But nevertheless, it's clear that there's a phenomenology around this, that the dog is seen as an individuated thing. It's like a person, it's like a particular named thing that has its individual identity, whereas a cat is just a type of thing. We have the essences, which is concentrative. So it's beer, for example, ubuchwala, because it's concentrated. There's a lot of grass, ubchani, because grass is concentrated. But then concepts as well, concentrative. We use the word concentrative because it can mean abstracts or concepts, but also concentrated entities. Thank you so much. Then this is for infinitives, for verb like in English to walk, to go. Then mediative. Mediative meaning that the shoe is that which mediates between the foot and the ground. So it has isi. plus 7 mediative, it mediates. Isikhulumi, the speaker, is that which mediates between the speech and the audience. So we have this kind of understanding that is embedded in the grammar. So each of these have been developed by Rutendo Goneso. She's developed it without thinking about, she developed it intuitively. So for me, with the psycholinguistic experiment, and then looking at her notes as to how this graphogenesis happened as an intuitive, would say, let's say, graphosemiosis, endographosemiosis, something that's effectual, that comes from inside. Then we end up with this kind of flow of a philosophy of personhood. So I've put this in the Kikongo frame. So in Kikongo language, a person is muntu. So it's the same as before. Kimuntu is the practice or philosophy of personhood. Bumuntu is the quality, the concentrative, essence of personhood. So we have this mediative, like the shoe, which is the practice. Philosophy, you must do it now in front, you must do it in the world. It's not something you think and go home and write. You must go and say it and act it out. This is the idea, is that it's living philosophy. And then that creates the meaning of the philosophy. And the meaning of the philosophy creates, which is never fixed, which is never finalized, which is a process, is the person. This is the philosophical worldview that is shared in a very large area. And let's try to universalize it. And you find Bonhoeffer is talking about this as well. You find this in Confucianism. It's the same kind of philosophy. You could draw out the thing. One needn't now objectify it and say, this is African. No. Everything is African, you can say it like that. Right? So we have the cycle of science, right? So we have Ntu, the broadest possible semantics in the middle. Ntu, with the Isbek. And so essentially what we have here is a processual cosmogram, just like the Dikenga de Congo. So we're in this business of trans-semiotic sigilization. We're creating sigils, intentional signs, graphic signs, that use different traditions of graphogenesis and different traditions of the graphosphere and different traditions of the world, the noosphere in more general terms, to generate intentional signs. And here we've generated a cosmogram. So Ventu, as the most broadest semantics, has around it these lenses. Thank you. And these lenses operate in this sort of processual way, where the practice of Isintu or Kimuntu, right, is shared between all persons, Luntu, which is persons at large. We're doing it together right now. We're making the conference. You can't make a conference alone. And then this practice of personhood creates the concentrated idea or philosophy of personhood. And that's what defines the person. The person is defined by the interaction, by the practice. So it's this idea that a person is a relational reflexive ontology. And that's the Ubuntu philosophy explained through the various Southern African graphic systems which have an affectual root. Okay. I'll probably get a question about this, so I have something to say, but let me leave it there for now. Aman.
Yes, I just wanted to say that that's one of the best talks I've ever heard anywhere about anything. That was really impressive. I was liking how you described, all of these meanings for the whole universe put into the African writings and culture. So, what have you found, the similarities between, these meanings in the African words and culture, and then similar deep things in other languages that no one thought about, also turned out to apply to the life, universe, and everything.
Yeah, I think the study of writing systems is probably even the study of music. It just so happens that we're in the study of writing systems. When you're engaging people, we're dealing in a deep way with different writing systems around the world, which have some ancient history as well. If you're doing with Egyptian hieroglyphs, or you're doing like Mayan script, whatever, all those colleagues that we come into contact with, we always find something there where, in fact, you usually start to cry because you're like, this is the same.
Wow.
You know, this feels like the same. You're touching on something that is universal.
Yes, yes.
You know, and it's maybe finding those universals, or rather feeling those universals. That is probably what we're talking about. It's the feeling of the life.
Yes.
It's all very well to describe and write a book and look at the computer, but what is this? How do you feel about this? And that probably has more information.
Yes, yes.
Or more detail, or more decisive.
Yes.
And that's, I mean, one thing I didn't mention is that there is also a theory about this from a particular person called Tabo. And he says that true signs are inside the body. The letters of Kham people, our people, are inside the body. That's where the letters are. They're not outside, they're inside. It's a theory of sign. It's a theory of sign. So here's Aristotle's theory of sign, but here's Tabo's theory of sign. Aristotle has an idea and a thing that are just likenesses of each other. The idea in the head, the dog there, and the idea of the dog, it's just an image of the dog that's really there. Whereas Tabo is saying, no, the dog can be a lie, you might be seeing something. There's no dog there. Your idea of a dog is a lie, it's just a concept. The feeling, the internal sense that there's a dog, that's the sign. That's a true sign. Wow. That's what he said.
I have two more questions.
Thank you for the amazing talk, firstly. I'm fascinated and I've learned so much. And I feel like when you learn about something like this, and when you see an intentionality, I feel like you can't live your life the same way afterwards. So I'm curious, how has the discovery and your understanding of this changed the way you live now, the way you see the world?
Thank you so much for that. I think it's like I think it's a technology. Because also, I can't go and live a forager life. This person who's the sage who's come up with this theory, which is a heritage of forager people, so-called hunter-gatherer people. I can't do that because I don't have the legal right, don't have the jurisdiction, I don't have the knowledge. I'm going to die if I even try to do that. Either someone's going to kill me or I'm just going to die from exposure or whatever. But what I can do is listen to the philosophy. And if I internalize the philosophy and I live like that, maybe something is going to happen.
Are we not in danger of romanticizing indigenous systems of knowledge? And I appreciate the graphics. I love the presentation for for the aesthetic power of the writing system that you started with. When you moved on to ontology and sort of what I would identify as social constructionist view of the world, which I find reasonably familiar coming from other sources, then I was a little lost in terms of where are we going with this?
Okay, you say two things that I'm hearing. I don't know. One is the idea of romanticizing.
Well, I'm asking whether it's not.
Yeah.
Potentially, you do it. So what I would like to understand.
No, I agree. It's a very critique, but my whole answer for that is, does it feel like it? Does it feel like it? If you were to go be very quiet and be alone and think about that thing and feel like it, does it feel like it's true or not true?
Yeah, but it's it is a question. Surely, I understand all of that. I come, from a specific a set of assumptions, and I'm kind of trying to respond to the set of assumptions that I'm beginning to hear throughout your presentation. And if I were, I come here very conservatively from the point of view of an academic conference and academic lecture genre, and I'm a little bit, there is a slight this space displacement that I'm feeling. I'm not sure where I'm at.
Yeah.
If I came to a gallery and your talk was part of a kind of artistic performance, I would probably respond to it very differently, because the sets of assumptions that I would come to with my interpretations in order to understand what I would imagine are your intentions, would be very different. But so it's the question of assumptions and context and genre.
Look, I think I would like to go cut in that and say the context and the assumption, the academic institution, the conference format, the English language, the Latin alphabet. These are the accoutrements of colonial imperialism. And so we are trying to break through this, to go beneath it, to find something that's universal that we can share. So essentially, in South Africa, it's very, very passe to say decolonized, decolonial. It's become gentrified. We're so over it because we talk about it all the time. In Europe, maybe it's not talked about. In South Africa, it's always talking about. Every academic is talking about decolonized. It's very gentrified because people are at work. They say, "John, you're getting a salary." I'm not getting a salary. I'm still more formal employment. I'm not an academic, but I'm a PhD student in an institution, and I operate in spaces that are part of the colonial frame. But what we're saying is we're saying MSSF, notebooks of of return to my native land, right? He says it's time to start. Start what? The only thing we're starting, the end of the world. We want the world to end and the new world. Like this world of square box, square writing system, square color. We're trying to penetrate, trying to destroy it, and destroy ourselves, so that we can live with that. It's a Pan-Africanist politics, but what I'm saying is that there's a certain philosophical process that have detailed even linguistic nuance, scholarship, empiricism that is in this thing. This is not wishy-washy thing. It has some hard times.
But when you communicate this to me and others, I think I need to have a little bit of introduction to the basics to understand what you're talking about.
I see. It is a gap.
Yeah.
Whereas in a different context, not even a different type of thing, even a different conference, even a different academic conference, one where there's certain shared disciplinary understandings or certain shared ethos or attitude. Whereas this conference slightly, everyone is from different places. There is ensemble, so big, there's two rooms. It creates a different kind of thing. Whereas smaller thing, people focus on particular thing.
Okay.
I'm saying this because I'm saying something controversial, but is it because he's not black South African? That's why you're making a statement? Sorry, I'm being very controversial.
Well, just to be clear, I do identify as a black South African. I am. I'm an indigenous South
But
African.
from my perspective, I don't see.
Exactly.
So
just to be clear.
I'm just wondering if the assumption is coming because of that versus
According to
like the opposite.
No. I will not even answer, but I see where you're coming from. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.